Welcome to another dip dive with us. This time we're looking at Ben Francis, you know,
Yeah.
Gymshark, and and it's interesting, right? Because he built this whole business before he was 30.
Yeah.
Like he was still in his 20s when he was running this multi-billion-dollar business, and he's got a really interesting story. And the great thing is we're going straight to the source. So we're using his interview on the Diary of a CEO. So we're getting this straight from Ben. So we can really look and see what's going on here.
What's interesting to me about his story is how it challenges that sort of typical prodigy entrepreneur narrative. Like,
Yeah.
Ben wasn't some straight-A student destined for greatness from day one. It's actually much more a story about adaptability,
Mm-hmm.
and being resilient
Yeah.
and always being willing to learn. And in some cases, learning from very unexpected places.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's really come through already in just the first few minutes of the interview. Like imagine him as a teenager. He's working with his granddad, building furnaces.
Right.
That doesn't sound like a typical.
Not very glamorous.
Yeah.
Not really. Not your typical route to a fitness apparel empire.
Oh, exactly
but-
not what you think of.
But those years were so formative for him. I mean, it was his first real taste of entrepreneurship. It was observing firsthand the grit and the risk-taking and that hard work hustle that it takes to build something from scratch. I mean, it wasn't just about, metal and fire. It was about absorbing that mindset, like a way of approaching challenges.
Yeah.
And those influences from those early years can often be the foundation for success later on.
I think that's so true. And it wasn't just the granddad. His mom worked in the NHS. So,
Yeah.
again, that incredible work ethic, dedication, day in, day out,
Yeah.
putting in the time. It's almost like the perfect recipe for an ambitious entrepreneur, isn't it?
It really is.
It is.
Then it gets interesting because Ben wasn't a star student.
No.
He was getting mostly Ds, not exactly lighting the academic world on fire. But then he gets into this B.Tech IT course,
Mm-hmm.
and things take a really unexpected turn.
You're probably wondering, what does IT have to do with fitness apparel? I certainly was. But as it turns out, that B.Tech IT course, it taught him Photoshop, Dreamweaver, Illustrator, the very skills he would use to build Gymshark's first website, to create the marketing materials. Like, talk about a light bulb moment.
It really is. It's like
That's
the perfect
good.
example of seemingly unrelated skills becoming the building blocks for something extraordinary.
Yeah.
His story reminds us that the path to success is not always linear. It's about recognizing your strengths, even if they come from these unexpected places, and finding creative ways to apply them.
So now Gymshark starts taking off. Ben's got this new challenge, going from a one-man show to leading a team. And he admits early on, he had this kind of my way or the highway attitude.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
can you blame him? He has this clear vision
Right.
for Gymshark.
Exactly.
This is his baby. He knows exactly what he wants.
It's that classic entrepreneurial thing where you have this vision, you know what you want, and everyone else is just getting in the way.
Right. It's a very common trap for entrepreneurs, especially those who experience that early success.
Yeah.
But to Ben's credit, he quickly realizes that this approach is holding Gymshark back.
He realizes he can't do everything himself, and he starts to surround himself with experts. And that's where this incredible curiosity that he has comes into play. He's constantly asking questions, learning from anyone he can, even at the gym. That's where he meets his future CEO, Steve.
It's amazing. It speaks to the power of networking. But maybe more importantly, the power of mentorship. Ben actively sought out guidance from experienced individuals, like Paul, who he met at the gym, Nyron, an old school acquaintance, who had e-commerce expertise. He recognized his weaknesses and strategically built a team to fill those gaps.
He's like building his own Avengers team, right? Each member bringing their unique superpower to the table.
Absolutely. I love that analogy. And this ability to recognize your limitations and seek out those who excel where you don't is a true hallmark of successful leadership. It's not about being good at everything. It's about building a team that complements your strengths and helps you overcome your weaknesses.
And speaking of teams, let's talk about Ben's co-founder, Lewis. They started Gymshark together, strong bond, but eventually things went south.
Yeah.
Visions for the future diverged, and they ultimately went their separate ways.
It's a classic startup story, unfortunately. That rapid growth can put a real strain on even the strongest partnerships. And in their case, it seems like a lack of clearly defined roles and responsibilities might have added fuel to the fire.
It makes you think, right? Even with a strong partnership, clear boundaries, expectations are crucial, especially as a company grows. Prevent misunderstandings, make sure everyone's on the same page, and hopefully avoid those tough splits down the line.
Ben's journey, it really highlights the importance of self-awareness, which can be a tough pill to swallow sometimes, especially when things are going well. It's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of success and think you've got it all figured out.
Right, like it's lonely at the top.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes that loneliness comes from being surrounded by people who are afraid to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
The hard truth.
People who don't want to burst your bubble.
Right. And that's what makes what Ben did next so remarkable. He decides to get 360-degree feedback, meaning from people at all levels of the company, peers, subordinates, superiors. Talk about putting yourself in the hot seat.
Yeah, he wasn't afraid of criticism, was he? And that feedback, it wasn't exactly glowing. Words like erratic, hot-headed, arrogant.
Ouch.
Yep.
I mean, that's got to be tough to hear.
I can't imagine.
Especially when you're at the top of your game, you're building this successful company,
Yeah.
and then you get this feedback that says, hey, you're actually kind of a jerk.
Right, like the emperor has no clothes.
Exactly.
But you know what I think is so great about this? Well,
It's that he didn't just dismiss it.
right.
He could have easily said, oh, you know these people, they just don't get it.
They're just jealous.
Yeah.
They don't understand my vision.
But he didn't.
He took it to heart.
He really did. And I love this story about his now wife, Robin. Yeah, that he shows her the feedback.
Yeah.
And she just says, that's the most you thing I've ever read.
That's great. I mean, it's amazing how sometimes the people closest to us can see our blind spots so clearly.
Yeah. They know us better than we know ourselves sometimes.
Sometimes.
And that moment, that was a turning point for Ben.
Yeah.
He realized he couldn't just ignore this feedback. He had to change. So he does what any good leader would do. He makes a list.
Oh, a list.
A list.
On the list.
His strengths and his weaknesses.
Wow. That takes some real honesty.
Right.
And self-awareness.
Exactly.
Actually sit down and do that. And he decides, okay, I'm going to double down on my strengths. You know, the brand building, the product development, marketing, the things he really excelled at. And for his weaknesses, like finance and operations, he brings in the experts.
Right. Delegate.
That's
when he asked Steve to step in as CEO.
It was a brilliant move. He's creating this leadership dream team, each member playing to their strengths.
Exactly.
And let's not forget, this frees up Ben to focus on the things that he is truly passionate about.
Right. The things that light him up.
Exactly.
And that brings us to another key theme in Ben's journey, this idea of continuous learning. He wasn't content to rest on his laurels. He knew he had to keep pushing himself, keep growing.
He talks about taking public speaking lessons, embracing opportunities that terrified him, learning by observing Steve's leadership style.
He was a sponge.
Totally. And there's this great analogy he uses. He compares himself to a chess piece.
Oh, I like that.
Being moved around the board, going from CEO to brand to marketing, eventually back to CEO.
It's a great analogy.
But each move provided invaluable learning experiences. That shaped him as a leader.
It highlights that growth isn't always linear.
Right.
Sometimes it's about being open to different roles, different experiences, embracing the twists and turns along the way.
And speaking of twists and turns, Ben's journey wasn't without its storms. Remember that incident where a Gymshark employee responded really poorly to a social media comment?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it sparked this wave of negativity.
Death threats.
Yeah, death threats directed at Ben.
That's scary.
Talk about a test of his resilience and leadership.
Yeah.
He's facing immense public pressure.
How did he handle it?
Gracefully, with a focus on learning rather than punishment.
Interesting.
What really struck me,
What?
He didn't fire the employee.
He didn't.
No.
Wow.
He focused on fostering growth and understanding.
That's a really refreshing approach, especially in today's cancel culture.
Right.
It's about recognizing that people make mistakes. And sometimes the best response is to focus on education and growth rather than punishment.
So we've seen how Ben went from building furnaces to building a global brand, all while navigating these complexities of leadership and personal growth. But now let's look ahead. What's his vision for the future of Gymshark?
Well, he's made it clear. He's not just building a clothing company. He's building a movement.
Right.
He wants Gymshark to be a global icon, synonymous with self-improvement, and a community that empowers people to be their best selves.
That's a big vision.
Yes.
And to bring this vision to life, he's got some ambitious plans.
Like what?
Well, for starters, he wants to open a flagship store in London.
Wow, a physical store.
A physical store.
In this day and age,
Right.
when so much is moving online.
Exactly.
Bold move.
It is. He's not just about selling clothes. He wants to create a physical space where the Gymshark community can connect, train, experience the brand in a tangible way.
I love that. It speaks to his understanding that, even in a digital world, people still crave those real-world experiences.
That human connection. And it's fascinating how he draws inspiration from other successful entrepreneurs, like Harley Finkelstein, Toby Lipka of Shopify.
He's always learning.
Always. He's constantly seeking knowledge, looking for ways to improve, never letting himself get complacent.
And that's a key takeaway here. No matter how successful you become, there's always more to learn. The best leaders are those who are constantly seeking knowledge, asking questions, surrounding themselves with people who can challenge their thinking.
And for all the aspiring entrepreneurs out there listening, Ben offers some hard-won advice. Find your passion. Don't be afraid to fail. Use your job as a safety net. Work hard, but work smart.
Those are words to live by. They're not just platitudes. They're principles that have guided him throughout his entire journey.
But here's the thing that really struck me. Ben admits that achieving his ultimate goal, Gymshark becoming this global icon, it might actually feel bittersweet.
Really?
He says the journey itself has been so fulfilling that reaching the destination might not feel as satisfying as he imagined.
It's a profound insight. It reminds us that sometimes the pursuit of a goal is more rewarding than the achievement itself.
It's about the lessons learned,
Right.
the relationships formed, the personal growth experienced along the way.
Journey, not the destination.
Exactly.
So it makes you wonder, what are your goals? And are you enjoying the journey as much as you think you'll enjoy the destination?
That's such a powerful question to consider. It's not about copying Ben's path. It's about finding your own path, your own passion, and embracing the challenges and the rewards of that journey.
Right. Your own unique journey.
Now, Ben's story isn't just about business success. It's also about personal growth. And one area where he's been incredibly open is his evolving approach to emotions and communication.
Yeah, he's talked about how he wasn't raised in an environment where feelings were openly expressed.
Right.
It was more about stoicism, resilience.
Like, suck it up.
Yeah, exactly.
He even jokes about how his dad has probably never uttered a feeling in his life. It is funny, but it also makes you realize how much our upbringing shapes our communication style.
Right.
Especially when it comes to emotions.
Right.
And Ben's starting to recognize that this approach, it might not be the most healthy or productive, especially as he enters this new phase of life, fatherhood.
Yeah, that changes everything.
It does. He talks about how he wants to be a different kind of father to his children.
In what way?
Well, he wants to be more present, emotionally supportive, create a space where they feel comfortable expressing their feelings.
It's a sign of real maturity and growth. He's acknowledging the limitations of his own upbringing and making a conscious effort to break that cycle.
Yeah, create a different kind of legacy for his children.
Exactly.
And I think it's a reminder that even the most successful people are works in progress.
Right.
We're all constantly evolving, learning, striving to be better versions of ourselves.
Absolutely. And this willingness to embrace change, to be open to new perspectives, is perhaps Ben's greatest strength.
It's what allowed him to build a billion-dollar company, navigate countless challenges, stay true to his vision, while remaining grounded and relatable.
He's a living example of how vulnerability and strength can go hand in hand.
It's amazing to see how Ben's journey is just this constant evolution, both as a leader and as a person. But his story isn't just about, personal growth. It's also about building this company culture, that can thrive amidst rapid change. And one thing that really stood out to me was his emphasis on community.
Oh, absolutely. He's incredibly passionate about fostering that sense of belonging within Gymshark. They eat together, train together, they share those stories that weave the fabric of the brand. It's not just about, hitting sales targets. It's about creating that shared purpose, that feeling that you're part of something bigger.
And that community spirit, it extends beyond the office walls, right? Reaching their customers and fans, through social media and those incredible events they host.
Yeah, think about that event they held in Covent Garden. I mean, it was more than just a marketing ploy, right? It was a chance for the Gymshark community to come together in the real world, connect face-to-face, share their passion for fitness. It's about building a movement, not just a brand.
And speaking of the real world, it's fascinating how Ben sees the future of retail, especially as Gymshark gets ready to open their first flagship store in London. In an age where so much is moving online, he's making a bold statement about the power of physical spaces.
Right. He envisions this store as a community hub, a place where people can experience the Gymshark brand in a tangible way, connect with others, participate in events. It's a bold move that shows his understanding that Even in a digital world, people crave those real-world experiences.
It's a great example of how he challenges conventional thinking. He's not afraid to go against the grain, experiment with new ideas. It's that adaptability that's been key to his success.
Totally. And he's equally thoughtful about the challenges of scaling a brand while staying true to its core values. He talks about this idea of a vanilla boulder, like wanting to avoid becoming just another generic sportswear brand.
I love that analogy. It perfectly captures the essence of what he's trying to achieve. He wants Gymshark to retain its unique flavor, its authenticity, even as it grows into this global giant.
And that brings us to his perspective on social media, which has obviously played a huge role in Gymshark's success. He's keenly aware of the power of social media, but he also understands its fickle nature.
Right. He knows that trends change, algorithms shift, and what works today might not work tomorrow. That's why he stresses the importance of building a brand that's more than just a social media following.
It's about creating genuine connections, fostering a sense of community, and offering value that goes beyond likes and shares. It's about building something that lasts, something with substance.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Ben Francis and Gymshark, what are the key takeaways? What can we learn from his incredible journey?
Well, I think his story is a powerful reminder that success isn't a destination, it's a journey. It's about embracing the challenges, learning from the setbacks, and constantly striving to be better.
It's about being adaptable, resilient, and never losing sight of your core values.
And perhaps most importantly, it's about finding your passion and pursuing it with relentless determination. Ben's story shows that with hard work, a willingness to learn, and a bit of luck, even the most ambitious dreams can become reality.
We hope this deep dive has inspired you to think differently about your own goals and the path you're taking to achieve them. Remember, it's not about copying Ben's success, but about finding your own unique path and embracing the journey.
So keep learning, keep growing, and keep pushing yourself to be the best version of yourself.
And until next time, keep diving deep.